Okay, we're talking with Russell Brown. We're at the finish of the Race to Alaska, and we're going to try and talk about other competitors' human-powered drives and the pros and cons of each. Can you think of anybody who's like so far out of the box?
Stand-up paddleboard
paddles. Stand-up paddleboards are not a bad idea. Can we start with those?
Not a great idea, though.
It does use the whole body.
Yeah, but you're too high off the deck. I mean, if you're standing
Depending
at
on the
water
boat.
level.
Depending on the boat, right? Some boats you could work. But they had the longest ones available.
And you're still bent over. It's
and
not a
you're
good
bent over,
plan.
no. It works when you're on a paddleboard because your center of
you're
effort
standing at water
is
level.
at your feet, right? So ixnay for that. You didn't try that. The one marked difference in between rowing and pedal drive is constant. Rowing is, by definition, intermittent. If you've ever tried to tow a large boat in a small rowboat,
It's hard.
you'll realize it's impossible with a straight line. You have to have a kellet to dampen your motion and somehow apply constant motion. Because if you walk up to something that's 30,000 pounds and push it once every 10 seconds, it's not going to go anywhere.
No.
You have to push slowly and deliberately. It's interesting to note, too, that halfway through the race, one of the teams, Right Yachts, realized that they'd woefully underestimated how much motive power they were going to need.
Well, after the initial beginning of the race, we realized that even though we are certainly powered for sailing, we were underpowered for our human propulsion drive system. We pulled into harbor in the following morning. We devised a plan to inexpensively and quickly build some sort of rowing station or station. And we asked the harbor master and owner, he opened up his shop for us and already had a bunch of wood left over. So we bought the wood from him, found some oars in town, devised a additional steel post to extend the length of it so we can be able to have a longer line to the water. In R2AK spirit, we wanted to make sure the race would go on and that we wouldn't feel that we were falling behind because we weren't prepared for no wind.
Ironically enough, they didn't need it for very long, which is terrible.
That's
so
I hate
it's
that.
so unfortunate. You spend 3 days hoping for a new system, you build a new system, and then the wind changes.
I think it's true that you can generate more power with a pedal drive.
I think so.
You know, the Straight to the Pool Room, which did really well in this race, they had a very innovative, very homemade pedal drive.
Half
lady's bike with the basket and the flower.
With the two pedals, you only have two legs, so you have two pedals like pistons. And they chose a 3-bladed prop. And I asked Straight to the Pool Room, how does that work? Is there a lag time that shows up every 6th stroke when there's that common denominator that comes up? And he said yes. So we changed the gearing ever so slightly so that point was never on the piston.
So every time you're on the stroke, the blade is so those were surface piercing propellers.
They were surface piercing propellers. As they came in the harbor here, we have the cruise ships right at the entrance of the harbor, and he put on his bow thruster.
These guys are getting so jerked around by those cruise ships.
You said 5 to 10 days.
Oh, that's what it was?
Yeah, they almost crashed on the f***ing bridge.
So it's what? It's a 60-foot, 70-foot gap. It's not that big.
Yeah.
And the bow thruster came on right as they were going through, and they were within feet of the rocks. And again, he just went out there, flicked it down, jumped on his seat, and just gave it 15 seconds, and it was close.
Yeah.
But you couldn't have done that with oars. You would never have got them out there in time.
Well, watching Super Friends maneuvering in the same harbor with the current with those 2x6 oars, I was like, oh my God, those guys are animals. You know, they're like cavemen, or they've got these giant clubs, but they got that boat turned around and with strong current.
Perhaps simple and stupid is all you need. There are definitely people.
There's very few commercial pedal drive systems available that are up to pushing heavy boats.
Right.
But say like a girl had Wave
Walker.
And they held up pushing a quite heavy boat and quite a heavy team.
They pedal like mad. So
whenever the boat speed dropped below 4 knots, they were pedaling.
So most of the time we came up to them in the first 4 days, there was at least somebody in
They
the
weren't
seat
just pedaling; they were pedaling hard.
Pedaling hard, And so those drives don't care who's pedaling them. Those drives care that they've got 23.75 hours in a 24-hour period, 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
You know?
And they did survive. So, I mean, that's saying something. That's a commercial unit.
Right.
It's not something that you had to design and engineer and build and test. So it's a commercial unit that actually made it. And I think that's quite interesting. In this race, human propulsion, reliable, efficient human propulsion is really important. You've got to have something really good. And I think it's one of the cool things about the race is the pedal drive technology and rowing technology for heavy boats, all that. But we're just scratching the surface on how to do it. It's obvious that the state of the art is not very highly developed.
No, there's room for improvement.
Human
folks.
power.
Yeah.
I mean, if you went around in Victoria and looked at all the boats and looked at what everybody had, you go, wow.
We need it.
Everybody's thinking something different here, and they all did work. I think pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. None of them failed off the bat.
So it's a totally fascinating subject. That's about all I can say.
The Nexus has not been found, so there's room for even the home tinkerer to really make his or her own advances. Try them out.